Hello YouTube, welcome back to another game of StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. This is going to be game number 2 between Snute and MaSa. Now if you haven't seen the previous game, I really recommend going and seeing that. The link to that is going to be in the description below. And that's pretty much it, all I have to say really about that. We're going to introduce our players very shortly. We are currently on Ulrena, which is going to be our second map. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you have already liked the video. If you haven't, please do so right now. I'd be super appreciative of that. So let's jump into Ulrena. So on the bottom left hand side here, we've got ourselves MaSa. MaSa's on Team Elevate, and he's from Canada. And his opponent, of course, is no other than Liquid Snute, who's on, of course, Team Liquid and from Norway. So let's see how this game is gonna plan out. Obviously, the scores, as per usual on my channel, are going to be displayed at about 1 minute into the game. So spoilers are coming. If you haven't seen the first game, I'd recommend watching that before this. And we have got ourselves Snute on 1. So Snute took the lead in Lerlac Crest on the last map. I think that the biggest changing factor there was when MaSa had accidentally let him run in with about 8 to 10 Zerglings, even though he had a block up and everything. But unfortunately, he just did not put up the bunker in time, and that just lost him too much economy. And at that point, I think that there was just no recovery from that. So yeah, that ended up pretty badly for MaSa. So let's see if MaSa is going to take this one or not. Of course, he does have a chance to get back into it. He still has at least, well, it's a best of 5, so he'll have a minimum of 2 games to get back into this. I mean, even if he loses this, he'll still have next game. But hopefully we're going to stretch out to 5 games in the series. I do love to see a head-to-head match with 5 games. So let's see, spawning pool and hatchery are about to complete for Snute. So obviously going for that spawning, or that hatchery first. That is quite standard these days, because of course, unless you're planning on doing some super early cheese, you don't generally start with a spawning pool. Otherwise it does hurt your economy that little bit too much that you just don't want to sacrifice the economy for. So here we go, we've got ourselves the metabolic boost on the way. It's going to be out just about with a few Zerglings as well. Pulled off the drones off the gas as well, just something to note. Oh, nice! Perfect surround. Those Zerglings couldn't have come out at a better time, managing to kill off the one scouting SCV that was here. That was pretty well played here. Whether it was a coincidence or not, I don't know, but those Zerglings sure as hell took out that SCV in time. So it looks like MaSa bringing out his Marines up here. Now this is actually quite a good position for a small little Marine army like this, because it's very hard to go around that. I mean, the distance to go around is super long, so you really would not expect the Zerg to do it at this, you know, early part of the game. So essentially bringing out 4 Marines like that is actually okay. The only thing that could have happened though is if Snute had speed already, and by that I mean if he was rushing it, and if he had a few more Zerglings, he could have very easily picked off those 4 Marines, and essentially that would result in a potential absolute swarming of his base with a bunch of Zerglings, because at that point he would have absolutely nothing to defend against a big wave of Zerg. So it looks like typical 1-1-1 here with the medevac coming out. Now MaSa did this the last time as well. Quite often you see players starting off with a Widow Mine instead of a siege tank, just simply because they can try to drop that into their opponent's mineral line, and that can do quite significant damage. Now we do have a Baneling Nest here, so that is quite interesting. Baneling Nest and a second gas as well, while expanding for his 3rd base. So potentially gonna see a Baneling bust here, but who knows, maybe not. I mean, Banelings would potentially be able to break through this bunker, but does he really need to? He could just run a few Zerglings around the back here on the middle line, and that would be quite effective as well. So let's see what this medevac is gonna do. Just one siege tank. Seems like MaSa is quite fond of this. There's a bunch of queens out on the map, going to be able to defend off against this medevac. Every bit of damage this medevac takes just reduces the amount of effectiveness it's going to have, because eventually it's going to be too risky for it to be staying inside of his opponent's base, and at that point of course he'll just have to back off, repair, or of course lose the medevac. This is some really good control from Snute. He's just actively available to take out that medevac, and the scouting information that this Overlord provides is actually quite useful as well. He pretty much knows exactly where the medevac is at all times. Now, level 1 weapons and carapace have just been started for Zerg. And just to note, we've got ourselves 2 liberators here. So, MaSa looks like he's interested in going for a bit of harassment here. And bringing him all the way down the side just so that the Overlord here doesn't spot him. This just gives your Terran player that extra bit of time to set up and prepare for the damage. So, oh, gonna pick off just a few of those drones. Not a huge amount, just 3 of them, which is fine. And looks like one more getting denied there. Now, unfortunately, that still refunds the full amount, so it just basically denies the larva. Now, from this point here, he'll probably be able to actually get close to that Liberator. And this is really nice positioning. I mean, he's denied about 3 total larvae at this point, which is really, really good. Correction, that's 5. Finally bringing over the Spore Crawler over here. Going to be able to deny the further harassment of those. And it looks like there's actually a counterattack here with the Zerg. Just Zerglings doing a bit of damage. Did force the lift off, and as well the 2 geysers being denied as well. So that's not bad at all. Now, where are those queens? Looks like they're focusing down one here. And in the meantime, these Liberators just going to town. Look at the amount of kills. 11 kills on this one, 5 on this one. Doing really, really well right now. Level 1 Carapace and Claws are about to complete as well. Oh, he's going to get even more kills. 11 kills in total. These queens are going to pick it off though if it's not careful. And is he going to lift it off? No, he just seems to be interested in just continuously taking out. Oh, is he going to escape? Yes, he is. 16 kills. Very, very nice indeed. At this point, 13 in this one, so 29 kills combined on these 2 Liberators. They have paid for themselves twice over at this point. Not twice, even way more than that, probably about 4 or 5 times. So 24 drones for 3, sorry, that's 3, yes it is 3 SCVs so far. And I feel that MaSa has been doing really, really well in terms of harassment here. The only problem that MaSa has is that Snute is running a bit out of control with his bases. He's gotten himself 4 bases, 4 hatcheries that is. And eventually it becomes a game of who has more production. So while Zerg always wants to be 1 base ahead, eventually the amount of bases is not just proportional to the amount of bases it has, but it becomes not so much exponential, but essentially if you can produce more units instantly, you can reinforce your army as soon as it dies. And you know, you could go from like 150 army supply pretty much to 200 total. So that's terribly explained. Let's say you can go from about 80 army supply to about 150 or 160 very, very quickly if you've got yourself a bunch of bases. And the numbers are a bit off there obviously because you wouldn't have that many army supply if you had 3 or 4 running bases, but you get the point. Terrans actually need to create more production facilities as well, not just command centers for economies. So I did a terrible job at explaining it there, but I hope you understand that Zerg, once they become rampant with too many bases, it's like an infestation. They're a lot harder to deal with. For example, if you have a 2 base Terran versus a 3 base Zerg, it's going to be a lot harder to deal with it with the Zerg if he has, let's say, 6 bases versus 5 bases of the Terran. It doesn't work like that anymore after a certain amount of bases. And I would say the sweet spot is probably about 4 or 5 bases for Zerg. Once they're at that point, they're just so difficult to deal with. And of course, they can get themselves exactly what Snute is doing, and that is Corruptor / Broodlords. He can afford that, and he can now start to become a monster in terms of army supply. So he's got himself a few yoinks. They are not over here. Oh, these are just queens and zerglings, so I'm gonna have to lift that off before those queens do any significant damage over here. This is actually quite good as well. He's cutting off MaSa's access to further economy, so this is something that you see Zerg do quite often. Eventually you can get your creep all the way across, and if you can get it as far as here, then it's a very, very difficult for your opponent to expand, because if anything goes wrong in this base, he's gotten himself a big patch of creep here, and at that point, you know yourself, it's very hard to run across creep because you can get surrounded very, very, very quickly. Now, one sneaky thing that MaSa has done actually is expand onto that island. Has that been spotted? It kind of has. I mean, the fact that there's a missile turret here kind of gives that away, so he would probably be suspecting that this is going on. Let's see a bunch of liberators over here. Gonna start setting up liberator circles, and these queens are in a lot of trouble right now. There's a lot of transfuses going down though. Gonna have to bring these units back. There is a little Thor here. I mean, the Thors are so puny these days. I don't know, did they nerf the size of them or something? Because they really do seem tiny. Now we've got ourselves a few Broodlords on the way. We've already got a few here as well. So 2 in total, and sorry, 2 already created and 4 being made as well. So 6 in total. And that's going to be very difficult to deal with. I mean, when you got Broodlords attacking the ground and Corruptors attacking the air, you are in a lot of trouble. This is where the Zerg shines towards the end of the game. The one thing that MaSa doesn't want to be doing right now is creating siege tanks. That's definitely not a good idea. He needs to get some anti-air, and he needs to get it stat. He does not have a whole lot of time, and once these Broodlords get revealed, Snute is probably going to want to push on, not to give his opponent any chance. And there we go, the reveal is down. This means that at this point, he's going to know exactly what's going on. There's some nice parasitic bomb going down onto these liberators. And a full cleanup. Snute is looking pretty dominant right now, despite the fact that he's losing a lot of his workers. Got himself 20 drones destroyed, but at the same time, look at the amount of worker supply. Now that is, of course, he is recreating a lot of those, but he's currently at 5 bases. 5 base Zerg is just so monstrous to deal with. I mean, if he loses his army supply, which he already has more, he has 15 army supply more. If he loses 50 of that, he could reinforce that almost instantly. More SCVs, or not SCVs, drones getting destroyed here as well. But these Hellions are about to be cleaned up. But in the meantime, we've got ourselves the big engagement here, Broodlords and Corruptors. And what are they going to do here? Corruptors, of course, being able to handle a lot of that air support from the Terran, but air wars again going down here. It seems like this has become a little bit more popular in recent games. I mean, up until, I would say, a week ago, the amount of games on my channel which were resulting in mass air wars was probably 2 or 3 games out of about 300. That's like a 1% rate, maybe even a bit less. And now we've had 2 air games in a very, very short period of time. I mean, we had an air game only a few days ago, I believe. If you have been following my channel, of course, you would have seen that. I can't quite recall what it is right now during this cast, but it was a pretty epic fight. Let's see, these Vikings doing a good job at kiting all these Corruptors, but more Corruptors coming in here with the reinforcements right now. But I think that the Vikings should be just about fine defending. The problem, though, is the Broodlords. Now, these Broodlords are going to be taken out very, very shortly if they're not careful, but with so many queens on the back end, this is looking really good for Snute. I think that he's pretty much won this game already. 98 supply to 31 with 78 workers against 24, so I think that's pretty much it. And there should be a GG being called very, very shortly. 44 SCVs have been destroyed for MaSa, and this is going to be a 2-for-0 in favor of Snute. So MaSa is going to have one more attempt. If he doesn't manage to kill or defeat Snute, then it would be a 3-0. But we're not going to call anything now. I haven't spoiled it for myself yet, so I don't really know the outcome of... to be honest, I don't know the outcome of this. Maybe this is going to be some sort of miracle pulled out of the hat, or a rabbit pulled out of the hat, and the miracle where MaSa will be able to come back. But honestly, that's probably unrealistic. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this game. There we go. GG has been called, and Snute takes game number 2. Okay, So game number 2 concludes. I hope you've enjoyed this game. Don't forget to leave it a thumbs up, of course. Subscribe if you want to see more of my channel. I will see you guys in game number 3, where we're going to see who of these guys continues on to the round of 8. Unless, of course, MaSa wins it, in which case we're going to be moving on to game number 4 and potentially a game number 5. So that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next time. Good luck. Take care. Bye-bye.